Invading Ukraine is proving to be a bigger challenge than Russia expected. Now in its 7th day, its military campaign has been stalled by fierce resistance on the ground. It's reportedly suffered more casualties than anticipated, as well as logistical problems, not least in supplying its troops across the vast country.
In a Russian tank battalion, you have about 10 trucks and that's it. And so you have an autonomy of 48 hours, and after that, the whole unit needs to stand still and get its fuel and get some rest and so on. And so the logistics of the Russian armed forces are simply not good enough in order to sustain prolonged operations in hostile territory.
That could be why the 60-kilometre-long convoy of Russian tanks hasn't yet entered Kyiv. The armoured brigades slowly snaking towards the capital were a plan B, after Ukraine shot down the Russian combat helicopters that were supposed to take the capital by surprise on day one.
The Russian offensive is not going forward as planned. The main objectives have not been reached. And even in the Russian doctrine, we know very well, if you're not going to be able to seize the key objectives in the first few hours, pouring several times more troops and investing several more days is not going to make this a successful operation.
In recent days, Russia has escalated air attacks on crowded cities, like Kharkiv in the east and Odessa, Mariupol and Kherson in the south. It may be shifting tactics. Moscow's strategy in Chechnya and Syria was to use artillery and air bombardments to pulverize cities and break their spirit.
It may actually be a deliberate maneuver. Kiev and other cities in Ukraine are softened up first. Ukrainian morale, it is assumed, will weaken. And at that point, that convoy encircles Kiev and begins an artillery bombardment of the city. I don't think at the moment we should assume Russia is on the verge of walking away from this conflict.
Moscow made new threats of escalation Tuesday, days after Vladimir Putin's order to mobilize his nuclear forces. Ukraine's defense ministry said it had evidence that Russia's ally Belarus is preparing to send troops in too, a claim denied by its president Alexander Lukashenko.